when I started my career, I started in June 2007, and indexing was gaining popularity rapidly after the great financial crisis. But it was already, the movement was already in progress by that point. And I remember thinking I was running into so many advisors over the age of 50 who had staked their entire careers on this idea of active management, and the stories that they would tell in rooms, whether it's in charitable investment committees or at networking events, sounded like stories like you're describing, where they had to sort of create this story in their mind on what they were doing was okay, despite the fact that the data very clearly showed otherwise. And the other thing that's really interesting that you talk about is just this idea that, look, a journalist, the media, they have to sell magazines, they have to sell advertisements, they have to have you tuning in. And so good advice does not change that much in the investment realm, but you can't just air the same thing over and over and over and put it in print. The one core concept I think that we don't hear that much about is, while we talk a lot about the different investments, the part of investing that is about having a plan seems so important. And Robin, as you've gone on your learning journey and published across all sorts of mediums, I'm kind of curious to get your thoughts on how you feel the role of a plan plays within all of this.
Well, the old adage, you fail to plan and you plan to fail, I think is really relevant here. I'll be honest, I'm sort of in my career, I've over the last 10, 12 years, I've been really writing about the kind of investing piece. And to me, important though that is, and getting the message across to people about what works in investing and what doesn't, and how what you often read about or what you often hear advisors say isn't actually what you need to hear. I've actually realized that more fundamental than that, more important than that, is this idea of having a plan, it goes without saying that our time on Earth is relatively short. There's actually a really good book that I've been reading called 4,000 Weeks by a guy called Oliver Burkeman, and 4,000 weeks actually is a typical human lifespan in the Western world. And when it's put like that, it's actually not very long. It's funny, we go through our life very often denying that the end is coming, if you like, and that we only have limited time to do everything that we want to do. And it's actually just relatively few of us who sit down and think, well, what are my values? What are my goals? And what do I want to achieve with the rest of my life? Who do I want to spend that time with? That's why it's so important that you have a plan, because without a plan, an investment portfolio is just meaningless. It's just a bunch of investments. So the plan really does, or really should, come first.
The common example I always hear people give is if you walked into a doctor's office and the doctor immediately wrote you a prescription before you said a word. That would be sort of the equivalent of being handed a portfolio before you figure out your goals and values. And once you do go through the process of the financial plan, then you can match it to your investment strategy. Do you agree?
Exactly. I mean, I too, I love that analogy. And, I mentioned evidence-based medicine earlier. And actually, if you read the history of medicine, it's actually quite interesting that it hasn't always been evidence-based. And actually, a lot of what became accepted wisdom was really just opinion and the way things had always been done. And it was only with the advent of clinical trials, the importance of evidence in medicine really started to emerge. The medical profession has greatly improved, over the centuries, and I think. I'm an optimist. There's a lot that's wrong with the investing industry and with the financial advice profession, but I actually am a kind of long-term optimist when it comes to the finance industry. I think things are moving in the right direction, and actually financial advice is moving in the right direction, and it's not just about providing solutions. It's not just about selling products. It's about really getting to know the client and working out what the issues are and what you need to do to get you from the point where you are now, point A, to point B, in the easiest and most efficient way, if you like. So yeah, I really do think that in a sense, that they're almost converging, those two professions. The sort of medical profession and the financial profession. I think it's just really important, because medical advances have actually enabled us now to live much longer than our ancestors did, and young people today increasingly are going to be living, into their 90s, beyond 100, and so on. And finance has got to keep up with this, because that's a long time that people are going to be spending in retirement. And so the same kind of evidence-based approach, which is prolonging people's natural lifespan, if you like, needs also to be applied to investing and retirement planning, to make sure that people actually have enough money to last them for the rest of their lives.